Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to decode the timeless rules of online engagement. And to do that, we're actually traveling back in time to 2014. We're going to dig into a fascinating study that looked at India's early blogosphere to figure out what really connects a company with its customers. And you'll see why those lessons are maybe even more important today.
So let's just start with the biggest question of all, right? The one that basically every business on the planet is wrestling with. In a world that's so competitive and always changing, what's the one thing you need to not just survive, but to actually grow? Is it a better product, a bigger marketing budget? Well, the answer is way simpler and honestly a lot more powerful than all that.
It's loyalty. That's it. One word. Way back in 2003, marketing guru Frederick Reichheld said that customer loyalty was the single most important driver of a company's growth. And it makes sense. Loyal customers don't just come back. They become your best salespeople, telling everyone about you, which is just the best way to grow. But here's the thing. You can't just buy loyalty. It has to be earned.
So that leads to the real question, doesn't it? If loyalty is the ultimate price, how in the world do you earn it? Well, the answer lies in a concept that we hear all the time. It's become a total buzzword, but I think it's often misunderstood. Customer engagement. Okay, so let's be really clear about what customer engagement actually means. It's not just a click or a purchase. As the source material puts it, it's a psychological state. It's something that's born from real back and forth, from interaction, from creating experiences together. It's about how a customer feels, what they think, and then what they actually do because of your brand.
To really see how this works in the real world, our source material takes us to a very specific time and place. We're talking about the social media scene in India right around 2014. This was a really pivotal moment, a time when companies were just starting to figure out the immense power of connecting with customers online.
I mean, just look at this number. Nearly 63 million people on Facebook alone. And we're not talking about some small niche group here. This was a huge growing audience that was online, they were connected, and they were ready to talk. For companies in India, this was an absolutely incredible, untapped opportunity.
In this statistic, wow, this tells you everything you need to know about the consumer mindset back then. 2/3 of people online were actively looking for reviews. They didn't just want ads pushed at them, they wanted to connect, to learn, to have their opinions heard. They were totally primed for engagement.
And here we have the central puzzle that the study wanted to solve. On one hand, you have this massive, eager audience. On the other, you have companies that want to connect with them. The tool they were trying to use was the corporate blog, but for some reason, it just wasn't working. They hadn't cracked the code yet. So, to crack that code, the researchers did something really smart. They compared how two totally different kinds of industries were using their blogs. They looked at service companies, think coffee shops, e-commerce sites, and then they looked at manufacturing companies, like computer and appliance makers. And what they found, well, the results couldn't have been more different.
Let's break this down, because this is fascinating. On the left, you've got the service firms. Their blogs were all about sharing personal stories and experiences. The whole vibe was emotional, it was positive. Their goal wasn't just to talk at people, it was to create something valuable with them. Then on the right, you've got the manufacturing firms. They were all about product specs, technology, the nuts and bolts. And what happened? Their blogs got swamped with technical complaints and feature requests. The tone was often negative, and the goal was just to push information out.
And listen to this. This one comment just nails why the service firms were winning. This person isn't talking about the price of the coffee. They're telling a story. It's about a feeling, a memory, a real human connection. This is the kind of engagement that builds die-hard loyalty. Okay, now contrast that with this quote from a manufacturing firm's blog. See the difference? It's 100% transactional. It's a negotiation. If you give me this feature, I'll give you my money. The customer here is thinking, not feeling. It's a purely cognitive thing, and while it's still a type of engagement, it's missing that emotional glue that makes a relationship stick.
Which brings us right to the why of it all. Why did that emotional approach from the service firms work so much better? Well, the answer is buried in the basic psychology of how we as people connect with anything.
The study says that real, deep engagement happens in 3 stages. It all starts with emotion. That's the gut feeling, how we feel. That feeling then shapes our cognition, what we consciously think. And only then does it lead to our behavior, what we actually go and do. So here's the key.
The order is everything. Real engagement starts with emotion. You feel that connection, like the person who got the coffee with their name on it. That feeling then makes you think, hey, these guys actually care. And that thought is what drives your behavior. You go back, you tell your friends. The manufacturing firms, they skipped right to the thinking part, getting bogged down in specs, and they totally failed to build that crucial emotional foundation first.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? The study boils everything down into a really clear, timeless game plan for any company that wants to build a winning online engagement strategy.
So how do you turn this into a real strategy? The study lays out a 4-part plan. First, you've got to integrate. Your blog or whatever you're using can't live on an island. Second, be consistent. Give people a reason to keep coming back. Third, and this is so important, you have to respond. Show people you're actually listening. And all of that is powered by the last and maybe most important step, be human. Your content has to be high quality, appealing, and above all, honest.
And that brings us to the final thought for today. Look, this study is from 2014. In internet years, that's like a century ago. Blogs have kind of given way to TikToks, to Instagram stories, to AI-generated content. So I want to leave you with this question. In a world that's faster, more automated, and more visual than ever, do these basic rules of human connection, leading with emotion, building a community, and just being real, do they still apply? Yeah, I think we all know the answer to that one.